welcome. This is a little Be Luminous 200-hour yoga teacher training reunion. And I have myself, Michael, who's one of the lead instructors, and Tina Templeman here. And then we also have Divya, Leia, and Becky, who all took the training last year completely online. The 2021 training will be online or in person. So we're assuming, fingers crossed, we will be in person. And this is just a fun, informal conversation to help answer questions for those of you who are considering the training and would like to hear from alumni about some of their experiences. So I'd love to have everyone introduce themselves. And Tina, you can give a fuller introduction to yourself too. Why don't you go and then we'll popcorn around.
Thanks. Yeah, Tina Templeman. I am a licensed massage therapist, and I've been doing that work for the past 20 years. I've been a yoga practitioner for 25 years, and I've been teaching yoga for 17 years. My passion and my lifestyle is yoga and working and moving and understanding the physical human anatomy. And it's an honor to be a part of the Be Luminous training. And I've been doing this for, golly, since 2011. So for 10 years, Michael and I have worked together as a team to deliver our 200-hour yoga teacher training.
Thanks, Tina. Divya, you want to tell us just your name and a little intro?
My name is Divya Krishnan. I am Indian, but I live in Seattle. I've been here for about 20 years. My yoga journey actually started here. I've been practicing yoga for a little over 10 years. I am a Be Loom training was actually my second yoga teacher training. My first one was with Synergy Yoga with Jody and Tammy, and then Be Loom was my next one with Michael and Tia. My reason for taking this training is because I wanted a refresher because the previous training had been a while ago, but I also wanted to be out there and be able to teach immediately after the training and not let that slide. And so what this training gave me was a great stand on being a teacher, the teacher that I want to be for my students, holding space for them, because we also do a lot of work on philosophy and the teachings of yoga in an uncomplicated way. My other reason for taking this training was to understand anatomy, especially pose by pose, so that I can give the right cues for my students to fall into poses correctly and quickly, but at the same time, not just focus on the pose, learn a little bit about breath work and meditation and so on. And the program that Tina and Michael have set up for us gives us all these tools, whether to conduct meditations, whether to, how to cue our students in particular poses, how to actually come up with a 20-minute, a 30-minute, a 1-hour yoga class. I mean, I felt so well prepared when I graduated, and I'm still learning, but I really have a lot more confidence and the ability to, teach classes very easily.
Thanks, Divya. Leia.
Hi, I'm Leia Soler Boone. I am a repeat trainee. So I've been practicing yoga for about 10 years. I started practicing yoga when I went to a gym, and I thought, I just need to do something a little differently instead of aerobics. And I took my first training then 3 years into my practice at Urban Yoga Spa, and it was wonderful. I studied under Tim Sullivan, and it was kind of like a love affair. I got deeper into my practice. I worked on Sanskrit. And then I taught a few classes, but then, life and babies changed everything. And I started taking online Be Luminous in the beginning of the pandemic, and I really loved working under Tina and Michael. And so I wanted to retake teacher training, and I loved the way that they allowed this other tier, that they invited me to come in as somebody with a certification and retake the training. And I was worried, like, am I going to be a hassle because I already know some of these things? Am I going to be able to offer something to this course? What's in it for me as somebody who already understands, the basic vinyasa flow and how it works in Sanskrit. And I was so overjoyed after talking with Michael about the way that I could add value to the practice and what I would get from the practice, which the number one thing was that I wanted to be able to actually teach from where I was. I felt before like I loved all these poses. I loved yoga, but I didn't know kind of like how to make it actionable and how to actually come in and teach a class in a very grounded way where I could look, see what the students were doing, and then know what to do instinctively next. And so that's what I got from my training is I taught a class last week. I'm teaching a class on Friday. And so I can take I'm like a very passionate Latinx woman. And sometimes I just feel like I just don't even know where to start because I want to go to the moon. And so with this training and with like all of the love that was poured into me from Michael and Tina, I know exactly where to step and I know exactly where to go. So I'm very, very happy that this is where I spent my pandemic, was in this situation. That's me.
Thanks, Leia. And how about you, Becky? Because you aren't a repeat trainee. It was your first training. And so, yeah, give us a little intro to you.
Becky Jones. I took my first yoga class, gosh, probably 22, 23 years ago, and it was a Bikram class. And I went and thought I was going to die and didn't go back to yoga for like 8 years. And then I found just vinyasa yoga and fell in love with it and have been practicing that consistently for the last 10 plus years and have known Tina for quite some time. And just heard so many great things about Be Luminous in the studio. And I already knew Tina and had a great rapport with her and knew that she had all this great anatomy and body experience. And my whole goal of going through teacher training, I had been contemplating it for years. And the reason that I really was ready to sort of step over that edge was to deepen my own practice, not just in the physical practice, but the yoga mindset piece where I was at in my life, and really wanting to learn more about the sutras and embody this practice that I've been physically practicing for so long. And so that was my impetus. My impetus wasn't necessarily to become a teacher. I think I was scared to admit that I wanted to become a teacher. So I used just I want to deepen my own practice, which I think we all feel that way. And I'm happy to say now I'm teaching at 2 studios and just graduated in December. So things can happen, and this program works. The Be Luminous teacher training has all the pieces, both the spiritual, the physical, emotional, mental. We go through all sorts of phases throughout this experience together. And it was transformational for me. My confidence grew and I was able to actually step out and say, yes, I want to teach, and felt ready and prepared to do so. So it's been a life-changing event for me. And since December, I feel like things have just been going up and up in all aspects of my life. So I'm super grateful for the experience and working with Tina and Michael.
Thank you so much, Becky. Well, it's lovely to be with you. So I'm going to throw out some questions, and you all may have some more questions too. Some of the things that we hear that people who are considering teacher training are curious about or really concerned about. And so one of those things that I hear all the time is, well, what if I haven't been practicing for 10 years? What if I haven't mastered all the poses? What if I can't do handstands in the middle of the room? Can I do this training? And what would you say to that?
I would say that the first time I took a training, I could kind of do a handstand against the wall. And then in my training for Be Luminous, I mean, I'm over 200 pounds. I modify all the time, and I'm a better teacher for it because I'm teaching for where I'm at. And it doesn't matter what you can accomplish as a yogi. And also it's not like your practice isn't linear. So all I would say is that one of the things you guys told us in the very beginning on the very first day is like, you're ready to teach exactly as you are, just who you are right now today. And so that really empowered me to say that even though I take a knee down when I do a twisted crescent lunge 80% of the time, I still know how to teach a twisted crescent lunge. I still know how to teach a handstand and a crow. And I know how to teach the students exactly where they are. And I'm a better teacher for myself because I'm being honest about my practice and what I love to do. And so I teach from exactly where I am. And I know how to teach someone who's pregnant. And I know how to teach someone and any physicality. So I would say, look at me. I have a beautiful belly and I'm ready to teach.
I love it. I love it. Thanks, Leia. What would you say are some of the things that each of you spoke to that our training prepares you to teach? What would you say were a couple of the highlights that you felt like really made the difference instead of just having knowledge, but being able to teach or share that knowledge? Yeah, Becky.
I would say for me, definitely the alignment piece. I mean, even for someone who'd been practicing a long time, and a little bit to tie into your last question, learning that piece alone will help your own practice. And once you know that, you can teach anything. You can teach them anything as long as you can teach them the alignment and the pose. And so that's the whole idea of this teacher training. So I would say definitely, that piece. And then now I'm losing my train of thought on the original question. Remind me, Michael.
What do you feel like prepared you to teach? So the alignment,
So it was
that
the
really foundational alignment we give you
huge.
that can apply to everything.
Yes,
And then
the
there was
anatomy
something
that
else.
attaches to the alignment. And then my next piece was the Baptiste template. I mean, that is golden because for me as a new teacher, I feel like I have this backbone that I've learned very thoroughly through the training to now take that template and build on it and create all sorts of fun things. But I always have this backbone to lean on to know that I have this incredibly powerful, awesome flow no matter what. So you've got that, it's memorized, it's in your system, it's in your blood. And I feel like that between that and the alignment, learning those two pieces gave me the confidence to go out and feel comfortable teaching.
Awesome. Thank you.
I think I just want to add to what Becky said. I think the alignment piece is critical, but I also, in the alignment piece, what this teacher training did for me as a teacher is break down poses and break them down in a way where they're accessible to different kinds of people. So versus just reading about a pose, but having teachers like Michael and Tina break up a pose so that we can teach to all sorts of people. And then my interest is also in meditation. So for me, meditation and yoga are a united thing that goes together. So I also learned how to bring that into a yoga class. And so now I'm able to teach with that integrated into a yoga class, which I really like. So I just wanted to add that, and basically what Becky said worked for me as well.
Awesome. Thank you, Divya. And I want to clarify for those of you who may be listening to this. So in the Be Luminous 200-hour teacher training, we use the Baptiste methodology of the Journey into Power sequence that Baron Baptiste created in his book, Journey into Power, back in like 2000. And what that does is that sequence is so adaptable that it's a foundation from which you can teach. It's a foundation from which I have taught folks who are blind. It's a foundation from which I have created a class that works for some folks with one leg. So it really, it's like, and then I've got like the super able-bodied uber athletes who also can benefit from the practice. And we use that blueprint so you don't have to, as a new teacher, come up with fancy sequencing. You have this blueprint, or I think of it more like jazz music, right? You've got the melody, and then you're going to riff as you get more and more confident and you see your students more and more clearly. You have the capacity to riff and create in each class with the students. And that takes time. But like Becky's speaking to and Divya were speaking to, you've got that blueprint to stand on when you leave the training. Yeah. I'm trying to think, what's the next most burning question that I get from people?
Well, I get a question a lot, and because I work at several different studios. At one point in my career, back in 2019, I was working at 6 different yoga studios. And students come up to me all the time and ask me what makes Be Luminous Yoga unique, and why would they feel that Be Luminous Yoga, what do I feel in comparison to other trainings that are local at these other studios? One of the things I will share, and then I would like to ask these other two ladies what inspired them to choose, is Michael and I have worked together. We began forming this training in 2010. So we've been together 11 years, and other trainings around there, they have different teachers teaching lead sections of their trainings, where Michael and I are with the students all the way through. Yes, we'll have guest teachers, but we're in the room with the guest teachers, and we deliver the content and or are a part of if we have a guest teacher. And that's one of the consistencies that I have seen does not exist in other studios. So that's my input, is that you've got people who have worked together for 11 years, and each time our training comes up, we can just get better and better instead of trying to rebuild something new. It just gets better and better.
Yeah, I'll pick up on that. And then I'd love to toss that ball back to alumni too. I think for those of you who are considering a training, one of the things that what Tina's speaking to was a very intentional choice on our part. As someone who has a master's degree in education and curriculum design, I really feel passionately that people learn best this kind of deep work when they have consistent integrated teachers and a consistent integrated approach. So not very, very small sliver of human beings can do their anatomy in a weekend with a guest teacher and retain it. And Tina is called all over the country. She's done global trainings where she's the guest anatomy teacher. She still does that. And imagine trying to learn all of your anatomy in one weekend. Similarly, the meditation, we take a different meditation each section that we're together and explore it and work with it. The teachings or the traditional philosophy of yoga, we're breaking it down in a similar way. So that to me it's a very intentional choice based on what we know about how people actually learn and retain information. And then otherwise, you don't have to speak to that. I think Tina's actual question was, what made you choose this training, or why would you choose this training? So I'll let you all speak to any of that you want to.
Well, I think I want to go before I forget what I was going to say. I'd have to say that for me, I think the way Be Luminous lays out the program from start to finish and what they delve into in this training was really very interesting for me. And the way, I mean, what Tina mentioned, Michael and Tina doing this together, like from start to finish, even though we have guest teachers, that made a huge difference. But I think for me, being Indian and having a vested interest in the philosophy of yoga, I really wanted to be and work with teachers who had a good understanding of the yoga philosophy and the philosophy behind asana, and it not just being a physical practice. And I think what I'm trying to say is that for me, I really felt like it worked in this training, like the understanding that Michael and Trina bring to the culture and the cultural aspects, and then weave that into, the asana practice and the teaching as a whole, like gives us that space to become teachers with a strong knowledge of the origins of yoga. So that was very important to me. And when I graduated, there was a lot of clarity around that, because I grew up in India, but I didn't really do a lot of yoga in India. I mean, all that was being done here. And I just wanted to throw in a little thing for the the cultural appropriation piece, because I did get that question from a prospective student. And I want to say that for any Indians who are looking to take this training, it's really, really an excellent training because you get a really good look into the history and origins, and then how to weave that into, your teaching, using the Journey into Power sequence, but also just teaching with a little bit of that philosophy thrown in as well, because you're learning from teachers who are immersed in that philosophy. So I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, thank you, Divya. Yeah, like Tina spoke to, right? Like it is my spiritual journey. And when you step into the training, it doesn't have to be your spiritual journey. And what we'll do is explore, where does it fit for you? Yeah. Leia.
I definitely felt taken care of because of the experience that you guys had, that I knew there's also such a chemistry where you each know what to say and finish each other's sentences. And so it was very, I don't know, I really felt supported and taken care of. And I knew that because you have a track record of like yogis for 10 years that you've been creating, and those yogis have been teaching the classes I take at Be Luminous and around the studios. So I've seen the talent. And as somebody who I wanted to teach coming out of this training, I knew that I was going to be with people who could read look at me, understand what it is that I was coming to. And then you listened to me to understand what my fears were. And you supported those fears and those insecurities. And then you helped kind of guide me through the whole training. And somehow you did that over Zoom for over 20 people. And that was incredible. And I definitely appreciate what Divya is sharing, because yoga is Indian, as Ashish says. And we talked about that. We really looked at the texts and we spoke very specifically about the text and understanding where everything is rooted and where everything continues today. So that was fantastic. I think that there's sort of a marriage between you and Tina. And so like you guys just kind of keep birthing these offspring of these like amazing teachers. And I was like, I want to be a part of this marriage. I want to join. And it was fantastic.
Thanks, Leia. Well, I would just say, is there anything else? And we'll wrap up, that anyone feels like is really important to share?
How did the schedule work for you ladies? Was the timing of the schedule and fitting it into your busy lives?
Yeah, because each of these three ladies have full-time jobs. And Leia still has little ones at home. And Becky and Divya have older ones out coming and going in the world. But yeah.
I personally found it easily incorporated into my regular schedule, just given that it was like, once a month commitment where I knew I was just clearing off my calendar for the weekend. The family knew, everyone knew in advance, this is where I'm going to be and what I'm doing. I didn't have to take a bunch of time off of work. So it was really just a Friday, a handful of times throughout those 5 or 6 months. And so to me, it was very doable. It's intense. You're still in it. You're in it that whole 5 or 6 months. You're reading books, you're studying, you're practicing. So there's a lot in there, but it's so good and awesome. You're excited to dive in and do that work. And Michael and Tina are both very accommodating as need be. If you're running behind on something and you need some time to catch up, or if you've got to dart out and take a kid to soccer practice because your husband's busy or whatever it is, it's a very understanding, accepting environment. But with that being said, everyone took it very seriously. People were present, people were there. And I just felt like, considering it was the first full online Be Luminous training, it was pretty flawless. It was just pretty amazing to have this connection in this. And I think that's what I wanted to end with. And my one point was that I went into this thinking, gosh, I really wanted that in-person teacher training experience I've envisioned for the last 10 years of my life, of, crying on the last day, hugging each other and whatnot, and just building that community. And we did, even online. I know these women, I've never met them face to face. I feel like they're some of my best friends, and I could go see them tomorrow and they would, ask them for a favor. And it was such an amazing community building experience. And Tina and Michael did an amazing job of holding this group of women and all of our feelings and our ups and our downs. And it was one of the best experiences of my life. And I'm not just saying that because I'm sharing this video, but it was phenomenal how in this online world we could create that vibe and that energy.
Thank you, Becky.
I just want to add to what he said. I feel the same way about her and Leia. I feel like they're my best friends. I can call them if I have any questions. I'm doing a few fundraisers for India's COVID relief, and the first people who come to mind are my classmates at yoga teacher training and my own teachers there, and just reaching out to them and saying if they want to co-teach. But I just wanted to end with, for me, it was very manageable to do this training, even with the, and I mean, don't get me wrong, it is intense. Like all yoga teacher trainings, you have to be all on. You cannot be like distracted. But it's just a wonderful experience. It's a life-changing experience. For me, it's been a life-changing experience. And the reason for that is because you're not only exploring poses and just doing the sequencing, but you're also exploring yourself. And Michael and Tina do a lot of great work um, in creating you as a teacher who holds space for your students. So it's not enough for you to just be able to teach yoga. You should also be able to deal with your own demons and your own, what's going on in your life, so you can hold space for other people. And I got a lot of that in this training, where I could present the best version of myself for my students, in teaching. So I just want to say thank you to Michael and Tina, and it's just the best investment that I ever made.
Yes, it was the best for me too, Divya. And yeah, we're going together on Friday. It's going to be amazing. We're already talking about like which yogic texts we're going to talk about. I would also say, yeah, I have little ones. I tend to work a lot of hours with my job, but it was such a retreat and it was such a relief to just show up exactly as I am. Like I would show up and maybe start crying because like my kids were screaming and I miss them or whatnot, but you got to just be who you are, whether you're on Zoom or you're in person in the studio. We are teaching as ourselves. And so I also want to point out that our teacher training were women anywhere from their early 20s to I think late 50s, maybe someone in their 60s, I'm not sure. And so there was a very large breadth of life experience that we all spoke to and we all supported with one another. And other trainings might be just a little different, right? So it also reflects the Be Luminous community, which is just like women and men of all different histories and backgrounds. And so that was really important to me. And so I didn't, I don't feel like a typical yogi, and I didn't want to necessarily like come out trying to teach exactly what you see necessarily like the most popular streamers on YouTube or whatnot. So you do have time for this. You have time for yourself. If you love yoga, I would highly recommend taking a teacher training and taking this one, because you get to fall deeper in love with yoga, and then you get to share that love with exactly who you are right now, whatever size, whatever shape, whatever age you are. And it's just incredible. And the yogis that are coming out of this training are finding work teaching, right? I only want to teach 1 to 3 classes a week or, a couple a month. And I have that opportunity to do that and still manage like my kids and my job and my marriage and like whatever else is on my plate. So when you step into your teacher training, it just feels like imagine the feeling when you come to your mat and you just go into child's pose and you're like, oh my God, have I even taken a breath today? Teacher training is like that times 100. And so I'm really excited for people to sign up. I want to come and speak at teacher training. I think I just manifested that. And I just want to see everyone like being able to hold each other's space and practice together and breathe together, because it's just beautiful.
What's going to be awesome is
Hugging
you guys
sometime.
are going to be invited to actually come to the physical space and practice with the 2021 class, right? Like it's like shift is happening. And I am so humbled by each of your sharing. I'm so deeply grateful. I know that please know that we didn't ask them to say anything. They're sharing what is authentic to them. And really, I know that Tina and I feel this incredible sense of gratitude that we get to be with amazing human beings like you, Divya and Leia and Becky. And see you build your communities, and see you bust out of your bubbles and step into who you want to be in the world, whether you're teaching yoga or working for whomever or running your own business, right? But it's really about you being in full expression. And so I'm grateful. I'm grateful to get to work with you and know you, and thank you for being here. Yay.
Thank you.